All right, welcome back to the Spinnin Backfist MMA show. It is Robbie Fox, it is Jack Mack, it is Big Ev, and we are here with the PFL's Shane Burgos. About 2 weeks away from the fight, right? June, two and a half weeks away. I saw you post on Instagram either yesterday or today that it was sparring day. Was that yesterday?
That was yesterday, yeah.
How'd that go?
Great. It was one of the last ones, too. It was a nice boxing session. Got a couple of boxers from the city that come up to the gym, and when the boxers come, it's go time. If you've ever been in the gym with us, especially like they're guys from other teams, that you get that little feeling like you're on edge, because I'm going with guys I've never seen before. We don't know each other. We're not friends really.
And if they come from other gyms, obviously it's boxing gym versus where you're at. But is there a little bit of that competition edge?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Especially like one, it's my house. They're coming to my house, right? So you don't want to get beat up in your house. But then two, you're doing their sport, and they're like, I don't want to get beat up by an MMA guy. I mean, everybody thinks MMA guys can't box, and they don't want to get their butt kicked by an MMA guy. So it's 100%. When we go in there, we're fighting.
And being in the PFL season format, does that change the way you look at sparring or training at all?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not doing nearly as much sparring.
Yeah.
Going into my first fight, I did. I treated it like a regular camp, but then everyone was asking me, how are you treating this fight compared to the other ones? I'm like, first one, that last fight, I treated it just like a regular camp. It's the second and the third, those fights where I'm going to have to taper off in the sparring, because honestly, the injuries happen in sparring, in the hard training. So I'm still doing my hard sparring. I'm just not doing it nearly as much as I usually do.
Did you come out of the last fight with any injuries? I was actually there, in Vegas.
Yeah, no, not really. I had my shin was a little bit bruised, but other than that, I was good to go. I was right back to train. I took maybe 3 days off, and I was right back in the gym. My coach was like, "Dude, get out of here." And I'm like, "No, I got 10 weeks. I was like a bad taste in my mouth out of the last one, so I'm just focused on the next one. I gotta get in the gym."
I was gonna say, how was that mindset post fight? Literally, like the fight's over, and you basically already know like the next date, essentially.
That I liked. I liked it because like I said, I had a bad taste in my mouth from that last fight. I fucking hated that fight. I can curse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a potty mouth, so yeah. So yeah, like I said, I had a bad taste in my mouth. So once I remember I did the post fight press conference, which you usually don't do after a loss, and then one of the reporters asked me, he's like, "How do you feel that you have your next fight already booked?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "You're right." That actually like clicked in my head. It was like, I gotta let this shit go, because I got 10 weeks. My next fight's right there. Like with the other organizations, you don't know when you're fighting. Mm-hmm. You could be on the shelf for 6 months. You could be shit on the shelf for God knows how long. I already knew before going into my last fight that I was fighting June 23rd in Atlanta. So I was like, oh man, you're 100% right. That actually made me get over it so much quicker.
Do you think it's going to have the opposite effect after a win? You're going to be like, damn, now I can't even celebrate?
I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that aspect, because like after a win, you want to go out, you want to celebrate, you want to eat a bunch of food, and then like you got to taper it back, because you got 10 weeks to make weight again. So that's like,
you're like almost in fight camp again. Now, pre-PFL, how long would you have a camp for? Would it be like 8 to 10 weeks generally?
Yeah, generally.
So it's about the same for you, but it's just over and over again.
Exactly, and it's like basically once I'm done with the fight, I took a week of, not even a week off, a week of light training, and then I was right back into camp. Yeah. So that's more, if anything, I'd say physical. Mental more so than physical, because there's no break really with that. It gets a little monotonous. Training when you don't have a fight, everyone's like, what are your hobbies? Training. I don't collect things. I don't go out fishing or anything like that. Like, what do you like to do? Work out. When I don't have a fight, love working out. When I do have a fight, oh my god, I'm like, this shit is getting so monotonous. So doing it back to back to back, it's mentally taxing.
Have you approached obviously you haven't cut weight yet, but have you approached the pre-weight cut any differently, or no? Just nutrition.
You can't go too crazy.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows me, like, I am a foodie.
Oh, really?
Dude, I love food. I was telling my wife, walking through the city, and we walked like a block, and I was like, oh my god, it smells so good. She's like, oh, I smell sewer. I'm like, oh, I got to whip the pizza, and then I smell sewer after. So I was like, oh, it's killing me. So I love food. So me having to not go off the rails after a fight, because that's usually every other fight. After, what do? Like, when I'm restricted on, and especially when I was fighting in the UFC, like I was fighting at 45. Now I'm fighting at 55, so I have a little more wiggle room. Back then, man, I had no wiggle room. So it was like once the fight was done, it was like I'm hitting this spot. I had on my phone like.
I was gonna say, did you have a go-to? Like you need to hit this spot after a fight?
Texas de Brazil is usually a spot that I go to.
Yeah?
It's like Fogo de Chao. It's like an all-you-can-eat Brazilian restaurant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get a gift card to that every year from my wife's parents actually. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I hit that spot multiple times a year. But I haven't been able to hit it after the last fight because obviously I got right back into camp. So.
It'll just taste that much sweeter the next time you have it.
That's a fact.
Hey, how much? I was thinking because even just seeing you right now, you're not like a small guy. It's crazy to be 145.
Yeah.
How I would say not how much easier. I would say how much less difficult. I'll say is it?
Yeah,
being 155?
that's a good way to put it because it's definitely cutting weight sucks no matter what. I mean, I'm not even close to 155 pounds right now.
Course,
I mean, so imagine me being at 45 and 45 was rough, but 55 is. Definitely, I can focus more on performance and less on the weight on the scale because my last couple fights at 45, it was like the last 3-4 weeks were like I don't care how I'm doing in sparring or in grappling or my jiu-jitsu rounds. I just care about getting this number down. Mm-hmm. So that was like mentally like on the back of my head. Like I mean, like I need to put more focus on my performance more so than on the number on the scale, and that's been like a relieving to be able to do that.
So I was gonna say I've seen the interviews before where when you were doing 145, where you were like you pretty much like you get the little you said you were Texas Day Brazil, but then like you're locked in almost like pretty much even out of camp.
Yeah, it's like meticulous to an extent where my brother's like, yo, you gotta try this. It's a protein bar. It's so good. I'm like, I can't. He's like, why not? I'm like, I don't have my food scale. I don't have. You know, I weigh every single thing I was eating at 45, and I still do that to an extent, a little bit, but there's way more wiggle room. Like at 45, dude, I wouldn't even eat a blueberry unless I put it on the scale. It was brutal. So yeah.
What made you make the like final decision of like, all right, I'm done with 145? Was it your coaches telling you?
No,
like...
it was me knowing that I have a quick turnaround.
Yeah,
I got to do 55, and then 10 weeks later do 55. Or so if it would have been 45, it would have been, dude, I would have been a zombie,
killing yourself.
Yeah. And then I got 2 kids. I got another kid on the way.
Yeah.
And at home I would be a shell of myself. So this makes it way easier.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And you just said you got a kid on the way. Coming around the time of the fight. Does that make you a little like, what's going on here?
My wife's right over there.
Yeah.
She's due July 5th. I fight June 23rd. So hopefully she stays locked in until I get home. Plug her in. Don't let her come out.
No, yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. That's wow. I heard that because our front desk woman, Ebony, asked.
She's the best, yeah.
And then she's awesome. She's been with us for, 7-8 years, and asked her, oh, when you were expecting, and then she said 3 or 4 weeks, and I was like, wait. I was doing my head, I was like, I think he's fighting in 2 to 3 weeks.
This wouldn't be the first time. Like when I fought Barboza back in the day, my second daughter was born 2 weeks before the fight. 2 weeks before the fight, so I missed one of my training sessions. My coach was like, where are you? I'm like,
having a baby.
Right now. I'm like, I'm a little busy right now. He's like, oh, okay, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean, it's training the next
okay
day,
excuse.
But that was rough. Yeah.
I was like, can I ask you about that fight? I know obviously it didn't end up going. I was so curious. So after the fight, there was a lot made about how like the way it ended. It was so like wild. I never seen anything like that. A doctor came out. I don't know if you saw this. I'm sure you did. He came out and said that literally was like your willpower essentially was like so strong that it like basically made your mind able to like stay on and your body kind of turn off in you.
Yeah.
How did can you describe or remember like how that felt?
I can actually. The weirdest part is I remember it vividly. Like everyone's like, oh my god. I went to 2 different neurologists and they were like, you have no signs of a concussion or anything like that. And I'm like, dude, I remember everything.
That's crazy.
It was a very weird shot. He hit me quick and I was like, boom. I was like, that was a good shot. And I remember dipping, like bouncing, and I was like, my legs. I was like, come on, stand up. And I just felt like I was sinking down. And then you saw my legs just gave out and I fell back. And I remember I was like, what the in my head I was like, I don't even know how to put that. I've never felt that before. It was very, very surreal, but I guess I'll take what the doctor said. It sounds cool.
Because it's wild. Because like it's almost what you described. You almost could like see that live, where like it's like your eyes are there, and then you see the moment where your legs start to kind of like your knees start to bend, and you almost see it in your eyes where you're kind of like, what's going on right now? Because you could see you're so like laser focused on them.
100%.
I've just never seen anything like that.
No, and I've never experienced anything like that. It just sucks that I experienced that. It sucks, but I'm over it at this point. I mean, it was over 2 years now. Is what it is. Everything happens for a reason.
What the doctor said just grows the legend.
Yeah.
It sounds more badass, right? So
and I remember that was the famous Tony Ferguson, the 75K win bonus.
Oh yes, I did thank Tony
that was
for
nice.
that one. Yeah,
Fight of the night.
Yeah, exactly. So I was able to double my money that time. So that was nice. That was nice.
There you go. What do you think about your opponent coming up on June 23rd? I saw an interview you did with ESPN where you talked about his durability specifically.
Yeah. Tough kid. Tough kid. That's the first thing I think about when I think about him is tough kid. Other than that, he does have some skills. He's not a household name or a guy that everyone knows, right? It's one of those fights that on paper I'm supposed to win, which if anything puts way more pressure on me.
Yeah.
Those kind of fights where nobody knows the guy you're fighting, or even if people do know him and they think like he's a slouch or whatever, then it's like not only do I have to win, but I have to show out. And then you got to add the fact that that basically if I win this fight by decision, I'm not qualifying for the
playoffs.
For the playoffs. So the pressure's on. Like, but the position I'm in, he's in that position too.
Yep.
Because if he just skates by on a win too, even though it's a win over me, he's not going to make it to the next level either. So we both are in that position where it's kind of like we're put in a corner. But I love that. Yeah. 'Cause I know he's coming to take me out, and I know everybody knows when I fight, like that's my goal. I'm trying to take the guy out. So I like a guy that's coming to oblige me.
Do you feel more comfortable in like a firefight like that, basically?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Not necessarily more comfortable, but I like seek discomfort. Like I find more comfort in the discomfort, if that makes sense, right? Because that's more my style. Like you guys seen my fights before, like that's what I'm used to. So I love that I got a guy that's coming to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was at that card. He fought that same night. Did you get to watch? You were before him.
I was right after him.
Right after him. That's what you were. They did that weird thing. They made like the main event first kind of thing.
Yeah.
So did you get to? All right, I was 2 questions. Did you get to watch that night, or you watch after? And 2, how long after the fight do you know that's the opponent? Like how long?
So both. I watched it while I was warming up. I was warming up watching the fight. Banger of a fight. I wish I would have been able to sit down and watch it more and enjoy it as a fan because it was a great fight. But then again, I watched it after. And then what was your second question?
How long after your fight did you know like he's the next guy?
I think it was like 2 weeks. 2 weeks after that, it's like all right, this is a good one. And stylistically, like matchmaking wise, that's a banger right there.
For sure, he wants to strike.
Exactly, it makes sense. It's a good fight. It's a guy that's coming. And again, like I said, I like that we both are in the position where we need to go out, go and show out. We can't just skate by on a 3-point win. We need the big finish, and we're both in that position. So how could this be a boring fight? Is like my last fight. If you write it down 100 times, you can see how it could potentially be boring, and it turned out to fucking be boring, which makes me sick to my stomach because I don't like boring fights. Obviously, watching them, but being in them, grosses me out. But this one,
do you think like during that fight were you thinking, this is boring?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was fucking bored.
I was Kate's side. He was pissed in the third round.
Okay.
Come on, man, you fucking killing me right now. I was like, fuck. I was just thinking the whole time, like, trying not to focus too much on what everyone else is thinking, but you kind of are like
it's your debut.
Yeah,
hyped
exactly. And
delayed.
I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get going. This dude's not letting me get going. Like, it was just very frustrating. Very frustrating. It felt more like a bad sparring session than it did a fight. So like, and I've had bad sparring sessions before, and again, it's frustrating when you get out of the cage and you're like, fuck, man, I can't wait till next week to do that again for sparring. But for this one, I mean, at least I had that next one in sight. You know what I mean? I said that 10 weeks.
You talk about the pressure of when you're in this fight that you're quote unquote supposed to win. Do you look at betting odds at all or no? For your own fights?
I don't really, but it always gets brought up to me.
Yep.
My friends always bring it up. Always bring it up.
They're like, when are you going to finish them? What round? I'm on the app right now. Yeah.
It sounds like someone I'd be friends with. Yeah.
That's pretty much what we do on this show as well.
Round 2 sub. Oh, no.
Like, all right, write that down. Yeah. As far as the actual fight itself goes, fight night, what does your fight day look like? Do you have like a routine, like a ritual almost before a fight or no?
Nope. And every fight day has been different for the last couple because sometimes I'm fighting on the pay-per-view and it's 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night. My last fight I fought at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, Vegas time probably was like, you were I guess you were like probably like the fourth fight before the fifth started like 4, so yeah, probably 6:30.
Yeah, I fought it, which was, I love that. I was like,
you like earlier the better?
Yes, please, because I'm training earlier. So like my next fight now is at 10:30 at night, so every fight looks different. So like even just from eating perspective, like you don't want to eat too much because that feeling of being full and bloated going into the cage is the worst. I've done that before.
Do you eat the same thing before every fight? Is it like a simple like chicken and rice or no?
It's simple, complex carbs, but nothing like simple, complex. It's simple carbs, but nothing that's gonna be too heavy on me because I hate that feeling of being bloated. Like even when I train in the mornings, I eat my breakfast, but I don't eat anything crazy for breakfast just because again I don't want to feel bloated and lethargic going in. It's way harder when you're fighting at 10:30 at night when you have basically 4 or 5 meals to eat.
Yeah.
You don't want to eat too much, but you also don't want to be starving going into the cage. So it's like, I much rather fight earlier, honestly.
Yeah. You ever take like a body shot on a full stomach?
100%.
That seems horrendous.
It is horrendous.
Does it make you throw up? Have you ever thrown up on a body shot?
No.
Ever see anyone throw up on a body shot?
On YouTube, yeah.
YouTube.
YouTube, that's it, yeah.
What's the worst body shot you've ever taken?
Oh, I'll never forget it. I was 17 years old, and I was sparring with a black belt at the time. Dude hit me with a spinning back kick.
Ooh.
Straight to the stomach, and I could not. I'm in high school, I'm a senior. I'm thinking I'm a tough guy. Dude, I was on the verge of. I probably was crying, honestly. Honestly, then my coach was like, "Come on, get up. You gotta walk it off." I'm like, "I can't breathe right now."
Yeah.
He's telling me, "Come on, suck it up," and I'm like, "I can't breathe." Like, I can't even tell him that I can't breathe. I'm just like, "Dude, you're killing me. Telling me to get up." I already feel like a pussy for getting dropped in this spot with spinning back kick, and then you're gonna tell me to get up.
Yeah.
Like I physically can't move right now.
Damn, 17 years old too, like doing hard spars like that. When did you start like actually like fighting?
My first fight was when I was 18.
Crazy.
Yeah, my first fight in high school actually. Yeah.
Oh wow, were you the coolest kid in school when you came back?
I was cooler.
Yeah.
I was never cool, and then like it was like, oh, Shane had a fight. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then we actually watched my fight in my government class.
Oh, really?
So
That's
that
awesome.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But I was never the cool kid in school. I didn't do any like wrestling or any sports like that.
You didn't wrestle?
You didn't wrestle?
I thought you wrestled for some reason.
I trained in high school. I found MMA when I was 15 years old. So I started training when I was 15 years old, and then
Immediately, just you knew what you wanted to do when you saw it.
yeah. When I saw it, I was like, instant love at first sight. I was like, oh my god, this is the craziest sport ever. I saw Matt Hughes slam Carlos Newton.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I was like, knocked him out. I was like UFC Unleashed episode, and I was like, get slam guys and knock them out and win a belt. I was like, what is this?
Did you ever think? Did your high school have wrestling?
Yeah.
Do you ever think, oh, it's good to get into it, or just you were?
I did, and I was a huge wrestling, like actual like WWE wrestling fan.
Oh, okay.
Like, I loved.
Who was your favorite?
Jeff Hardy was my man.
Oh, wow.
The Swanton bomb.
Yeah, I used to do that on the mattress all the time. Shawn Michaels super kick.
I was a Batista Orton guy, but yeah.
I like Randy Orton.
Yeah.
But anyway, so instant love at first sight. But I was like, those guys are like crazy. I can never do what they're doing. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I can never do that. But I was like, I'm a huge fan of the sport. Maybe I'll try it. And then my friend found a Tiger Schulman's gym. Yeah. And I've been at the same team ever since. We did the 1 month trial, and I didn't miss one day. I came every single day because it was like from my first grappling class and kickboxing class, I was like, oh my god, like I've done some things.
Were you good at it right away too?
Yeah. I was a natural at grappling. That's the funny part. Like nobody knows, but like my amateur fights, I have fights where I pulled guard.
Wow.
Yeah,
Shane Burgos pulling good.
Shane Gracie.
my second amateur
Then
fight.
he learned how to punch, which
Yeah,
Kron is just like learning.
Yeah.
He promised punches in the next fight.
Yeah, he's gonna throw. Yeah, you better watch out. Yeah.
My second amateur fight, I actually jumped guard and hit an omoplata.
Oh.
And I won with I got the omoplata and then choked the guy at the same time.
Is there a video of it? Do you have video?
I can probably find that. Yeah.
Be sick.
How many amateur fights did you have?
It's eight amateur MMA fights and
Got it.
2 amateur kickboxing fights.
Got it.
So yeah. So actually, my first amateur title fight ended up being a no contest. I kneed the guy in the nuts by accident, so he couldn't continue. But he did a good job at defending my takedowns. I was taking everybody down and submitting him. He defended my takedowns, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta stand with him. I was like, I'm a grappler. What do I do? I was like, all right, I'm standing. So we're standing, and I'm like, I'm getting the better of this. I'm doing good. And then I ended up kneeing in the balls. Fight gets a no contest. We get rescheduled for a month later. We fight again, and I'm like, let me just try the striking shit out. Now that was fun.
Is that the moment it clicked in your?
So I TKO'd him in the second round, and I was like,
high power.
Yeah, dude, it was like I was like, oh, 'cause you submit somebody.
It's like
and
that.
You submit somebody. It's like that was cool. The knockout was like
hitting a home run. Like
Who's next? I was like, dude, I was like, oh my god. And then my coach just scheduled me for a kickboxing fight like 3 weeks later, and I was like, I just had my first TKO. I was like, I just fought. It's my first amateur title. Can I just eat and relax for a minute? He's like, no, kickboxing fight in 3 weeks. I was like, oh my god. So I went out and did the kickboxing fight and ended up TKOing the guy in 90 seconds. So I was like, oh, this is like,
wow.
I was like, let's go. I was like, I love the submissions and I love the finishes, but this TKO shit is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're in the PFL. Is any part of you worry in terms of like you don't have as much control over matchmaking, and even the matchmakers don't because of the tournament style, where it's like they can't necessarily always put you together with like the fireworks Shane Burgos opponents that we want to see.
Yeah, if anything, that's just more. That's just puts more. It's in my hands. I gotta go out there and I gotta make it that kind of fight. I mean, like my last fight, I feel like I should have got more reckless. I was in those stalemate positions where I should have just got reckless. Did some stupid shit, right? Because I mean, hindsight's 20/20, obviously, but. If he was able to just hold me the entire time, why not just fucking do a front flip when he's on my back or so? Just something just to try to get him off me like that's unorthodox or something that he's not going to expect. So if anything, it just puts more emphasis on the fate being in my hands, where I got to go out and I got to fight my fights.
Yeah. just the overall like well-roundedness as well. I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
I would say obviously you got a fight schedule. Anyone else in the division that you kind of like have your eye on? Not even like a call out, but just kind of like
the entire division. But I hate those questions when I get no offense. But I hate those questions when I have an opponent.
I just have someone in mind. That's why.
Yeah, of course. Everybody does. When I have someone already booked, I take the sport so seriously that it would be negligent and just naive for me to be like, all right, I'm fighting you, but I'm really looking at you next, so I'm gonna beat you. But this is the guy coming for me. He's coming for my spot, and if anything. Nishikawa, this is more of an opportunity for him because I have a bigger name than him, right?
Yeah.
No disrespect to him, but I can't take him lightly, so I'm not looking at anyone past him.
Well, I'll just put out there where I think you and Clay Collard would make an incredible fight.
Who doesn't think that? Who doesn't think that? He's had nothing but bangers. Like I'm definitely a fan of his too. So yeah, who?
And that was who just fought him.
Yeah, exactly. That's another fight that if you write it down 10 times, like there's no way that's gonna be boring.
They got to make that at some point.
It's gonna happen eventually, 100%.
But like you said, I mean the whole like division right now, and I'm sure it's just like really starting in terms of signings.
Yeah,
like is pretty crazy.
Oh man, if with the Francis signing,
yeah,
so we were getting to that, right?
Oh,
like,
we
dude,
can,
like,
yeah.
Like that, if anything, that just like gives me even more. I already had faith in the PFL. Obviously, I signed with the PFL.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have signed with them if I didn't have faith in them. But then they go and they do that. That's the biggest signing in MMA history.
Yeah.
Period. Like no matter how you feel, like you can feel. You're a UFC fan, you're a PFL fan, Bellator, whatever fan you are, it doesn't matter. The biggest signing, the current UFC heavyweight champion, the current #1 heavyweight in the world, signs with the PFL. Tell me how that's not the biggest signing in the history of the and then you put the details into that contract. Like everybody saw the details.
Yep.
It's not just the fact that they signed him, but those markers, everything that he's been able to get from them.
Him looking out for opponents, right? Like looking for a minimum pay for them, stuff like that.
Thinking about going up to heavyweight.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
for $2 million, I consider pulling.
You're like, maybe.
I jump guard in that one.
Yeah.
Your wife was like,
But for $2 million, yeah, money talks.
Yeah, money talks.
Dude, it's crazy. Like for him to go out of his way to put something like that in his deal and be so like stubborn with it, being like, no, this is in the contract or nothing. Who the fuck does that?
Yeah.
What guy gives a fuck? That much of a fuck about his opponent making $2 million flat? Are you kidding me? That just goes like you can say whatever you want to say about this dude. This dude is a good fucking person to do something like that.
Nobody in MMA has ever done anything
like
that. Yeah.
It's such a selfish sport. It really is. But he's looking out. That deal is a game changer in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, for the entire sport. I think it's only it brought us up a notch. I think it brought everybody up a notch.
I think even just people seeing fighters like you, fighters like Francis, going over to PFL, making a great living, enjoying their time with the promotion, it entices them to be like, hey, there's other options out there.
100%. Like, that's a good way to put it. You said enjoying my time with them, because I am enjoying my time with them.
You could tell with every, like, UFC fighter, Bellator fighter that goes over to PFL, there's no, like, complaints or anything like that. Yeah.
It's been a seamless transition, and if anything, I get treated not that I got ever treated bad, because like I said, the UFC staff treated me great, but I get treated even better than that.
Yeah,
so, and
it's great.
I my expectations were what I had before, so I didn't think I was gonna get even better treatment, but I have zero complaints.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
I'm happy to hear that.
Making a great living, like my deal is fucking awesome. Like it's.
Also, you had like the greatest exit from the UFC ever, where Dana was like, "Yeah, we fucked up on that one."
yeah. I'll take that. That's a pat on my back.
Yeah, when you heard that, were you like, "Oh man, that's pretty"?
That was awesome. Yeah,
greatest exit interview ever.
Yeah, it really was. I was like, "Oh shit, man!" I remember I got a call from a Vegas phone number, and I missed the call because I don't really answer.
Yeah, he brought that up.
Yeah,
he said that in the quote, right? He's like, I tried to call him, and he didn't.
He ended up leaving me a voicemail, and then we texted back and forth. But I was like, dude, you know, that's awesome. He had. Like, if in his eyes, he could just be like, "Fuck Shane." Like,
oh, of course,
totally,
yeah. He's done that to a lot of people.
Yeah. So for him to go out his way to show appreciation for the blood, sweat, and tears that I put on inside that promotion, because I
you went out there.
You guys see when I fight, like I put my everything into it. I'm doing this for myself, for my family.
That's why
him to show his appreciation was fucking awesome.
That's why we were so hyped when you got announced with PFL, because we love PFL first of all, and then hearing that you went is huge, because we know that when you show up, you're throwing down.
Yeah.
And I mean, just what you said, that you were disgusted in the last fight because you didn't, in your eyes, properly throw down, just goes to show how like huge and big of a signing that was for PFL. Because, I mean, people want to see fights. Obviously, the MMA junkie will get down with any kind of fight, but people want to see fights, right? That's why it's the number 2 sport in the world outside of soccer, football. Because people love to see people punch each other in the face. It's just like, or kick or whatever.
It's the most primal thing. It's the most, this goes back to cavemen. Before cavemen were playing soccer and stuff like that, what were they doing? They were fighting. This is the number 1 sport. It's the realest and the truest, the purest.
Look at nature, still animals. They fight.
That's why there's something about this sport that I don't even almost consider it a sport.
It has no language.
Anyone
can watch and generally understand it.
100%. Yep, that's a great way to put it. And I eat, sleep, and breathe this shit.
How often do you, like, as a fan, like, how often do you watch fights? You watch them all or not really?
Watch them all. I watch them all.
Oh, really?
So I have a question, as a fan of the sport, I have this, what's your dream fight of 2 guys, and it could be like across like generations that never got to fight? That you would love to see fight.
There's definitely a million of those off the top of my head. The first one that pops in my mind, for some reason though, just the first one. This is not my number 1, but the first one that pops in my mind is Fedor and Randy back when they were in
That's a good one.
But Fedor being in the UFC at any point with anyone would have been great. Crow Cop in his prime in the UFC. So I'm a diehard Crow Cop fan. So
big Pride guy in general.
Yeah. I was a Nogueira fan, a big Nogueira fan. But Crow Cop, man, that dude, scariest fighter in the history of fucking. You saw when him and Vanderlei Silva, that stare down they had.
Yeah. Joe Rogan talks about it like it was like a world war.
I'm like, there's zero fear in this man's eyes because he's a fucking. He's like a special force.
He would kill people.
He just killed people and. Vanderlei goes in there trying to intimidate him,
and
he's just looking through his soul like, I'm going to kick you in the head.
Yeah.
And he goes and kicks him in the head.
Yeah.
Bro.
Do you have, when you do, obviously in weigh-ins, and you do the lock-in, do you have a mindset going in, like, I'm going to try to be like Crow Cop there, or?
No.
Because you're your own guy,
I can't usually, and I can't help it, but I can't help but smile.
Okay.
Time. Like, I see my weigh-ins, I'm never serious. I'm always smiling because I'm so fucking excited.
I
don't know how to. I try to. My dad's like, you gotta stop smiling. I'm like, he always says, I can't stop smiling. Like I want to be there. I love to be there, and I'm fucking genuinely excited to do what I'm about to do. I could see some people being scared of going into a fist fight or stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not a fear thing. If anything, I'm scared of failure.
Of course.
Like losing. I'm not scared of the person. You know what I mean?
Seems like you're more motivated by that than anything.
Oh yeah. 100%. Like, I don't know how guys can half-ass the training because when you're going into there, like. This is the most honest sport.
Oh, 100%.
That's why guys that get away with drinking on the weekends and like doing, I try to minimize my chance of loss by any means necessary. That's why, like I said, when I fought at 45, I count every single calorie. I don't drink alcohol, but I've been drunk twice in the last maybe 10 months. Like, I don't drink. Like, I don't smoke. So like, take this sport super serious because of you're on that platform. I mean. This sport is the best, but it's also the worst because like you get a bad performance or you get knocked out and you fucking see the memes and shit like that and you're just like, and MMA fucking fans can be fucking brutal, man. Yeah, I got a bunch of them in the comments and stuff, but I still love it at the end of the day. But that part about it is just like, I hate it. So yeah, I try to minimize my chance of loss by any means necessary, by cutting out any of that bullshit.
Does it blow your mind when you hear like the old school John Jones stories then?
Absolutely. It makes me like, oh man, I wish I had, dude, that you're so gifted and you're still getting away with all that stuff. The good props to you that you're able
what
to
would
do
he
it.
look like if he had like, that regimented schedule and was putting everything into it, not drinking, not doing anything?
Jail for murder.
I think you're right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
He almost
what he did
made it
partying and whatnot.
I can't, the dude's a fucking specimen. He's like perfect.
Oh yeah.
And he can get away with that shit. That's fucking
crazy.
It's wild. It's wild. It's really wild. Yeah. But there's other guys in the sport that can do that too. Like, but again, I'm not gonna ever.
Not risk it.
Yeah, that's not your game. Yeah, it's not your game.
Risk it. Yeah, no, it's not worth it. Not worth it at all.
All right. Well, June 23rd is the fight date. Atlanta. Hopefully, we'll be there. We might be there.
Yeah, my first time in Atlanta. Never been to Atlanta.
Oh no,
yeah,
it's nice, and the arena where the PFL does it's sick.
Yeah,
it's like a nice, like intimate, but also like feels big. Almost feels like you're walking into like a movie production type.
The room is very cool. We got to go last year. It was it's like a bit. They have great lights and stuff. It's in like the
Overtime Elite.
It's like the big it's like big high school for basketball.
The
players.
like whole area where the fighters stay is nice too. It's right by like the Olympic Park and stuff. You'll like it.
Nice.
It's
I'm actually getting an Airbnb. I did it
even better.
I did it for my last fight, and I was like, I can't not ever never.
The McMansion.
It wasn't a McMansion, but it was nice. It was nice. But after doing that, I was like, I can never not do this.
No, that's the move.
Especially with the way the PFL is. Like, when you fight in the other organizations, like you're on a card with a bunch of guys, like heavyweights, middleweights, like. I'm fighting on this card, and
all
it's
guys in your weight class.
all guys in my weight class that I should constantly be bumping into, or I'm like, I don't really like any. Obviously, my opponent's there too, so I like to just do my own thing off to the side.
No, it's a good move.
Yep.
That's a good move. So everyone tune in, PFL Atlanta. Thank you, Shane Burgos.
No problem.
ESPN,
June 23rd,
ESPN
guys. It's gonna be fucking brutal. Enjoy it.